Carrascal, a fourth-class municipality located at the boundary of Surigao del Sur and Surigao del Norte in Mindanao region, is known for many things. The small, quiet town overlooks the Philippine Sea and has hinterlands that are home to many indigenous groups who call themselves Lumads. Among them are the Mamanwa tribes, who depend on subsistence farming and hunting. Some manage a portion of natural resources under their ancestral domain claims. Yet, in the midst of the richness of their natural surroundings, the Mamanwas remain among the poorest indigenous communities in the Philippines.
Ang kinabubuhay ng tribo dati, medyo hirap talaga kasi karamihan sa tribo nasa bundok talaga.
Ang sa una, panginabuhi namo sa bukid, gamit lang ni sa among kultura nga panginabuhi. Una, huway, niya ka nang nato sa unang pangak-ak namo, ng kahoy magputol among imo para panginabuhi namo maglagos. Niya, kuha na may uway, nakak among ilugsong sa baryo para baligya para makapamalit mi og among panginanglanon para sa among panginabuhi.
Unfortunately, the problem is not endemic to the Lumads of the province. In the Philippines, local government units are entitled to 40% of the total collections from companies extracting or tapping into the natural resources in their locality. These so-called extractive industries include mining, oil and gas drilling, and forestry. The local government units get their share of the national wealth from the Department of Budget and Management, which is tasked to release the shares. Ideally, these local government units should be getting their shares every year. But the reality is far from ideal. For one, local government units do not have a clear picture of how much they should receive from the extractive companies. The money is collected by regulatory agencies, transferred to a central agency, lumped with other payments, and then distributed to local governments. The lack of information thus limits their capacity to check whether they're getting their proper share of the wealth.
The Provincial Treasurer's Office noticed that there were loopholes, there were lapses in the collection system. Not so long ago, the province was among the 5 poorest in the country. And that was very ironic for us kasi we were a mining province. Parang we were a province sitting on top of a pot of gold, and yet we were very poor.
The lack of transparency is more than just an issue of compliance, computation, or documentation. It has made the fight against poverty a difficult battle in many parts of the country. On November 26, 2013, a glimmer of light started to cut through the darkness. President Benigno Aquino III signed Executive Order 147 to make the country implement EITI, the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, a seal of global approval on disclosing tax payments of extractive companies. With EITI implementation, the Philippines became one of the 49 countries in the world and the second country in the ASEAN that allows its citizens to see how much they receive from oil, gas, and mining companies. Barely 3 years since its inception, the Philippines' EITI initiative has already started gaining traction. To date, a multi-stakeholder group, or MSG, has been organized as the governing body of the PH-EITI. The MSG is a collaboration between the Philippine government, the local extractive industry, and civil society. After the publication of 2 EITI reports, 30 mining companies and 6 oil and gas firms have already signed on the initiative and submitted their tax data and other information to the PH-EITI. 2 roadshows nationwide have been conducted. 387 stakeholders from local government units, LGUs, national government agencies, civil society organizations, and industries have participated in these roadshows. Important policy recommendations have been formulated by the MSG as a result of the consultations. 44 hydrocarbon and mining contracts have now been published in open data format on the country site www.contracts.ph-eiti.org. several state departments and agencies have started disclosing more information. Most importantly, the Philippines has already gone beyond EITI disclosure standards. After publishing 2 country reports, PH-EITI is now in the process of institutionalizing reforms such as disclosing and monitoring extractive companies' social expenditures and environmental funds, evaluating the environmental impact assessment system of the state collecting agency, and improving the processes in monitoring the royalties of indigenous people who host extractive industries in their ancestral domains.
Definitely for the Philippines is much more important because for one thing there's a huge diversity of localities, so different environments, local environments if you will. A large number of stakeholders, no? Not just the local communities but even stakeholders from outside the communities. And then of course the Philippines is a developing country seeking to grow economically and also seeking to address issues like social justice and poverty.
While the Philippines has just begun on the straight and narrow path towards transparency and global compliance, local communities and other stakeholders already welcome the journey.
But I think the most important reason why I think it's a success is because we've gone beyond simply transparency, simply reporting and reconciling numbers. We're also looking at the whole governance process of extractives and trying to identify the gaps and providing recommendations to our policymakers. And we've identified a few of them and provided some guidance on those, and we've seen changes. I'll give you one example. In the first report, it was evident that the National Commission for Indigenous Peoples was not sufficiently monitoring the royalties to indigenous peoples that were being paid by some mining companies. And that's why the discrepancy between what was being reported and what was being confirmed as received was quite large. So we made that observation, and the monitoring is a lot better now, and the discrepancy for the last country report is actually much lower.
It was a very welcome development for us because at that time also we were at the peak of our efforts to really collect what is due to the provincial government. When we were first introduced to the EITI, we found an ally. Meron na kaming pwedeng masabihan ng problema dito sa province. And we also realized ganun din pala ang sentiments sa ibang provinces. We have very common sentiments, and the main benefit that the province can really derive from the EITIs, the system that they will create, probably the policies that they will implement, and making it all transparent for all of us to be able to really have a picture of what the mining industry is, how it works, how much it gives us in terms of income, and making it all accessible. Kasi mahirap humingi ng documents from the line agencies. Kami mismo, we have encountered that.
As more accurate data are obtained, policymakers, the industry, civil society, the legislator, regulators will have information to craft new laws and adjust existing ones to reflect the strategic themes of the government. We all want to harness our natural wealth. We must ensure that it benefits the Filipinos, so that succeeding generations not only benefit from the proceeds, but also have an environmentally sustainable community.